What's up, guys? Today I'm going to be talking about batteries, battery chargers, and things that you should know about your batteries and chargers before you get started. Before we go any further, make sure that you subscribe to the channel, like, and also at the end of this video, please comment to let me know if you found this informative or if I've left anything out. Obviously, I don't know everything. I try to spread the knowledge as much as possible, but it doesn't mean that I know everything. How long do you charge your batteries? Well, there's not a definitive answer on that. If you're asking because you have a charger that does not have an automatic shutoff, you shouldn't be using that charger to begin with. You should go and buy you a charger that has an automatic shutoff so that when the batteries are full, they are full and it shuts off on their own. There's no time frame. Now the question comes up, okay, well what if I'm charging on a 2 amp, a 4 amp, a 6 amp, 8 amp? Well, that's gonna depend on how often you use your batteries, how dead they are, everything of that nature. Now, let's say, for instance, you've got a 2 amp charger that, and you've got some batteries that you have been hitting the switch a lot. They're pretty low. It could take 2 days to charge them all. With that said, if you've got a 4 amp charger, obviously that time is going to be cut in half. So 6 amp, obviously even faster. Now, according to manufacturers, you are not supposed to charge your batteries on anything higher than 10 amps. That's not my information, that's the manufacturer. You don't believe me? Look up just about any battery and see what it says as a recommended. Anything over 10 amps is going to start to damage your batteries. Now, for what my 2 cents is worth, I normally only charge mine on about 2 or 4 amp, maybe 6, something like that, nothing over that. You got to look at it like a phone charger. Many people that's got an iPhone, you can attest to this. If you charge your phone and it takes a normal charger and it takes, overnight to charge it, that charge is going to last longer. But if you hook it up to one of those bigger blocks and it charges it faster, it's going to die faster. So the way that I look at it is, the slower, the longer the charge is going to last. That's just my opinion and how. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about the different types of chargers. There's many different opinions out there. Everybody's got one as to which type that you should be using. Me personally, I've got several of the little 4 amp chargers. You get them cheap. You can buy them at Harbor Freight. You can get them online. They're super cheap. You can also go to Walmart and get a 4 bank, I think it's a 4 or a 6 bank charger that charges on 2 amps. You literally just put it on there and walk away. They have the automatic shut off and everything. You can also go with the DSR type, the real high-end ones. They're kind of expensive, but they are very nice. You're paying kind of for convenience because it's just one unit that charges everything. It's got the automatic shut off everything. They're very fancy and they're nice units. I don't personally use them. It's nothing against them. They're great units. I don't personally use them because I can easily go and buy 10 chargers for the cost of a 4 bank charger, that charges just 4 batteries at a time. And that's just my opinion. Yeah, you have to use splitters and you have to multiple plugs, but that's just my opinion. It's also, in addition to that, I have multiple cars that will have hydraulics or have hydraulics. In addition to that, I've got a lot of friends that have hydraulics, and if one of their chargers goes bad, then I can lend what I have to them in case of emergency or if they need it. So that's just my opinion, though. There's obviously a lot of your hoppers and people like that. They use the big bank chargers that have they can charge all at once. It's a matter of convenience, and it's easy just to grab instead of a ton of wires and plugging and everything like that. To me, the chargers, they all do the same basic job. They charge batteries. Is one better than the other? That, once again, that's an opinion. I know a lot of people do like the DSR style chargers that charge a lot of batteries at one time. So that's just my opinion. Okay, so another question that I'm often asked is, how long will a charge last? Well, I'm going to use my son's car as an example. He's got a 3-pump setup, one pump to the front, 2 pumps to the rear. He's got 6 batteries. 6 batteries are ran to the front pump, and then we've got 4 batteries to the rear of each pump. So this is right now his daily driver, so he hits the switch quite a bit. He charges them roughly about once a week. Granted, you don't have to charge them that often, but he has a routine of charging them that often. Not because they're completely dead, but just because he's gotten into that routine, which I completely support. Used to, when anytime that I would use mine, I would pull it into the garage and throw the chargers back on them and just walk away. I'd leave them on there for 10 days. It might be 10 days before I drove it again. But since these chargers have a float and they'll shut off when they're full, you can do that. You can just throw it on there and then walk away. So it really depends on how often you hit the switch, how many batteries you have, and pretty much the life expectancy of the battery. So if you've got some really old batteries, they may not hold a charge quite as long as some newer batteries, let's just say. So all right, so how long will batteries last? That is one that I get asked a lot, and it's a very hard question to answer, and the reason is because it depends on the brand of the batteries. It depends on if they're refurbished batteries or brand new batteries. It depends on how often you hit the switch, how often you charge them, how you charge them, and which is something that I should go into as well. If you're charging your batteries on anything over 10 amps, like slam charging them, they're not going to last as long. Manufacturers say 10 amps or less, and anything over 10 amps is going to start damaging the batteries. That's not my information, by the way. That is straight from the manufacturer. If you don't believe me, look. Okay, so another option for charging is a street charger. Street chargers have become pretty popular here in the last while. Street chargers pretty much work as your vehicle is running, and it basically charges them as you're driving. For a daily driver, they're great. They'll keep your stuff charged. I'm old school, so I kind of like to charge my stuff at home and keep them fully charged that way. But that doesn't mean that street chargers aren't great, because I've heard some great things about street chargers. But me personally, I'm just old school, and I'll charge my stuff in the garage or at shows or something along those lines. But for daily use, they're great. They have some really nice switch boxes. They've even got the little voltage meter right on the switch box. Some of them's got. If you call them, they can make it specific to your setup, and they're pretty nice. Okay, so let's talk about what batteries to get. The short answer is deep cycle. Do they have to be deep cycle? No, technically they don't, but they are made to be completely drawn down on their power and put back up. Okay, that's deep cycle batteries. With that said, what are you looking for? Well, you can run your cold cranking amps at 650 or somewhere around 600. Do I suggest it? No, I don't. I'm not under any circumstances, but you can. Now, what you're actually looking for is anything over, let's say, 900. The higher the cold cranking amps, the better for that initial hit on the switch. Now, if you're just running a lay-and-play setup to where all you're doing is literally riding around and you're hitting the switch to lift and just hitting the switch to lower, then just about any battery technically would work. But for longevity, you want a deep cycle battery, a minimum of about 900, 950 cold cranking amps. That's the general. Price range can range anywhere between $100 to $200. I mean, they've gone up a lot here in the last while. Your cores, you can get a discount for cores and things of that nature. But so you will also want to take into consideration, if your rack is already built, you need to check the measurements on your battery before you even purchase anything. You need to measure the rack, measure the bottom of these batteries, and make sure that they'll fit into your rack correctly. People often ask me if they should get Optima batteries. Well, unless you're doing it to match your setup, honestly, the answer is no. The power for the dollar just doesn't make much sense. Optima batteries tend to be quite a bit more expensive than your traditional deep cycle batteries. So in my opinion, no, Optima batteries do not pose any major benefit other than they do look nice. I do want to tell you about one other thing, a dead cell in a battery. A long time ago, it's happened to me once, and it hasn't happened to me since, and I haven't really seen it happen to anybody else, but if you run into it, this is definitely good information to have. So a dead cell in a battery, just because it's got a dead cell in a battery doesn't mean that the battery won't take a charge. So the only way to really find out that it's got a dead cell is to have it load tested. You'll have to take your batteries to some place, and like a parts store or something like that, have them load tested. I sat there and chased down and replaced solenoids, replaced motors, and this was long before I knew what I know today. but chase down all kinds of stuff, looking at grounds. For some reason, I would charge all of my batteries and they would all show fully charged, but when I hit the switch, it wouldn't go anywhere. Solenoids was good, motor was good, grounds were good, just couldn't figure it out. Well, what had happened was underneath the battery, some kind of way, I don't know, it split or something like that, but anyway, the battery acid out of one of the cells had come out, and I wouldn't have known had I not taken the batteries out, taken them to a local parts store, had them load tested, and come to find out it was a dead cell in one of the batteries. Here was the bitch about it. I had to replace all the batteries because the batteries that I had at the time, you couldn't get anymore. You don't want to mix match batteries at all. You want all the same batteries, all the same brand, all the same everything. Can you do it the wrong way and connect wrong batteries? Yeah, technically you can, but your setup is only as strong as your weakest link. So let's say, for instance, you've got a battery that's a 900 cold cranking amp, and then you got another battery that's a 650. Well, guess what? 650 is as strong as you've got in that setup right there, because it's only going to pump out what the max amount one of the batteries can give, if that makes sense. So make sure that you always have all the same brand, all the same cold cranking amps, and preferably, if you can, buy them all at the same time or within a year apart. Like I said, the weakest link in your setup is as strong as your setup's going to be. So if you have some from 1980 and then some from 2020 or whatever, then obviously it's only going to be as strong as those ones from 1980. So replace them all at the same time if it's feasible. If your batteries are over 5 years old, they probably should be changed out at some point anyway. Batteries do last a long time if you take care of them. I've had a set of batteries going on, I don't know, 8 years probably, but as long as you treat them right and charge them right, they can last you a really long time. What do you do with the big bulky charger that you've got that doesn't have an automatic shutoff? One of two things. One, I use them to start vehicles if they are completely dead. They require a lot of amperage in order to start a vehicle. Or two, I will use it for electrolysis purposes, which is basically taking an old part, an old rusty part, throwing it in a bucket of water with the laundry detergent and then a scrap piece of metal, and it basically pulls all the rust off and all of the paint and whatnot off of it. It pulls all of that stuff off, so eventually it'll come out clean. It normally takes about overnight of sitting in there in order for it to come out clean, but I'm going to show you really quick what that means. And make sure that you're doing this outdoors or somewhere where it is an area, like if you have a detached garage or something like that. You can do it indoors, but make sure that you're not around any flames, any sparks or anything like that, because it's just like a normal battery. You're not supposed to have sparks or flames around those because they can explode. There are harmful gases that come out of the bucket there. I hope you found this video informative. Please hit the subscribe, like, and comment in the comment section below. A lot of my videos come from your comments, so if you have any questions or if I left something out of this video, please leave it in the comment section below. Also, go to TikTok, go to Facebook, and also Instagram. Tennessee on Hydraulics. It will be in the comment section below. Follow us on all of those pages for all the silly stuff that we post, as well as informative videos and knowledge, just trying to put it out there in the lowrider community.